This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up? Real MVPs, Ricky Whitmer here, and welcome into the draft room. I am joined with my wonderful co-host, JD. JD, how we doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
You know, I'm doing great, but I have a question for you because I'm a little perplexed. And the reason why I paused at the beginning, JD, is what number episode do we officially count this as? Because technically, and I'm using air quotes, this is our second time recording the draft room because we had that surprise episode when the Bears traded the number one pick. But this was planned to be the number one premiere episode. So do we count the Bears episode or Bears-Panthers episode as like 0.5, like 0.5, and this is one? Or is that one and this is episode 2?
I would say we count this as episode 2. Episode 1, we recorded over an hour on episode 1. We got our introductions out of the way. So I'd say we just roll with the punches and get this to be episode 2.
I wasn't going to go back to the introductions. I was just thinking from a technical standpoint, but welcome into the draft room, the draft podcast here at MVP Sports, where mainly talking about we have football season, basketball season. Right now we're in football mode, so we're talking all NFL draft. Remember, you can hit that subscribe button if you want to keep tuned for whenever these come out. They're going to be bi-weekly episodes. Like I said, in episode 1, every 2 weeks, we'll have a new episode for you guys. And eventually after the draft, we'll switch over into NBA. But right now, all NFL. Hit that like button too if you like the video, and let us know anything we talk about, what you think down below in that comment section. But JD, let's get right into it, because the first thing we're going to talk about is about a week ago, right? A week ago, if my memory serves me right.
Well, for Patreons,
about a week ago for Patreon, little less than maybe 5 days for everyone else. My 3.0 mock draft was released. It'll pop up somewhere above us. If you want to check that out, it'll pop up. You can click it, come back to here. But we get comments on those all the time. And beautiful comments. Love the commenters. No matter what you're saying, it's good to get interactions. And JD and I thought to start the show, we're going to react to some of the comments that we got on my mock draft, kind of so we can kind of keep these conversations going, because I don't know about you, JD, because you and I both watch other people's mock draft contents. The thing that I don't like with some of the mock drafters out there is it's like, tell me what you think down below, and then the conversation stops. It's like you tell them, hey, this is what I think, and then the conversation just stops there. I don't know if you get that from the other mock drafts that you watch also.
Yeah, I definitely get that. When other content creators ask for those comments and people comment, I feel like the commenters are talking into a brick wall. So with this, it gives us the opportunity. For this, it gives the commenters a chance to, like you said, interact with us and have a friendly discussion. And we're not always going to agree or disagree, but yeah.
We are definitely not always going to agree, especially on the tune of many of these comments did not agree with me in my mock draft. I'll get to learn if JD is on the commenter side or my side with some of these. But the first one, I'm going to throw you a softball, JD. This was one that I know you had talked about when we were planning what to talk about for today. It's a comment from Marina Sands, and it basically says, Witherspoon gets a D, not a need, like the trade down. For those of you who don't know, I had Devon Witherspoon, cornerback from Illinois, going to the Eagles at, what is that, number 10? Yeah, at number 10, Devon Witherspoon, cornerback from Illinois, going to the Eagles. Marina saying they do not like the pick, apparently. Gets a D because it's not a need. JD, what's your thought on Witherspoon to the Eagles at 10, and do you agree?
I agree with Witherspoon going to 10 to the Eagles, because I know you're probably an Eagles fan if you're commenting this, but Darius Slay was not good in the second half of last season. He just, plain and simple, he wasn't. You got to think about this. I think a lot of people with this draft forget that it's a mid-class.
Yeah.
So by getting someone like Witherspoon, who I believe is a top 10 talent in this year's class, if you get him at 10 and you're the Eagles who are just in the Super Bowl, it makes perfect sense. You get younger at the position. Best case scenario, Witherspoon becomes a top 10 cornerback in the in the NFL, period. So I don't think there's any downside to it. Sure, you have other needs, but like I said, I rather get one of the sure thing guys at number 10 than reach on a player, because I think that's what this draft is. Even, I know we're not talking about the Lions or any other team in the top 10, but a lot of people are like, oh no, we should draft this guy, we should draft this other guy instead of whoever people have them mocking. And it's I just think people need to realize that if you're not going to trade back, then you got to get what you get in this class. And I think if you get Witherspoon at 10 for the Eagles, it's perfect.
Mm-hmm. I mean, so obviously for me, I had Witherspoon going 10 because to me with the Eagles, and of course so a little bit of background for those of you who probably maybe haven't saw my mock draft, maybe you did, and now you're watching this, is I recorded that the Sunday before free agency. Basically, it was like I recorded it the day before free agency. Was that a Sunday? I think I recorded it on a Sunday.
The tampering period came out on Monday.
Yes, you're right. So I recorded on a Sunday, went up on Patreon that night, basically Sunday into Monday. And then the Thursday was when everyone got to see it. So like when I made the mock draft, free agents hadn't signed yet. I didn't know, we didn't know who the Eagles were going to lose. And I can see coming in from an Eagles fan like, oh my God, we've lost so much already that there are now higher needs probably than the cornerback that we thought was a need. I do agree with you in a sense. Like Darius Slay, I think is good, but he's not the end all be all. Like there's a problem with me that like, I don't want to say Darius Slay is trash because he's not, but when I look at a team like the Lions, what were the Lions really bad at? Defensive secondary. Signing one of their guys is probably not going to be the best of things. Now I said Darius Slay, not garbage, but he's not like okay, we've got him. We don't need to worry about getting a cornerback in the draft. I think really what's going to happen with the Eagles, and you tell me if I'm wrong, JD, depends on who falls, obviously. Because the guy that I look at, like, who would you take over Witherspoon if you're going to draft at 10? Well, first off, you look at it and you go, do the Eagles react to basically losing Andre Dillard, who signed with the Tennessee Titans? Do they overreact and say, you know what, Bears went with the tackle before us, we're going to go with Peter Skoronsky out of Northwestern? Or does a Tyree Wilson fall and they go, oh, we need an edge rusher, we're going to go ahead and get that here because Tyree Wilson would be better than Witherspoon? Like, to me, it depends on who falls out of that top 9, basically. Like, who's there right there at the 10. But I do agree with you. The Eagles probably might be a team that say, hey, you know what? Let's trade back. Let's try to get picks and then find someone of value later that fits one of these defensive needs that we go ahead and need. Because I feel like there's going to be maybe a plethora of cornerbacks that either go late first, early second.
Yeah. And not to mention, Darius Slay is also on the wrong side of 30. He's 32 years old as of today.
I mean, that's a good, like, really, like, once you, I know running backs, it's really bad, but like in football, once you hit over 30, got to think to yourself, how much abuse is my body taking each and every week? So like the Eagles, like, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, JD, if Tyree Wilson is there, he's the pick, but he probably won't. So because Wilson won't be there, I would go defense over offensive tackle, and I would go Witherspoon over Soronsky. But really, the number one thing would find a partner to trade back.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would say if it's not Tyree Wilson or Witherspoon, it could be Christian Gonzalez if he's still on the board. Either way, I think the pick's defense over offensive line for the Eagles. I just think after losing the pieces that they lost on that defense, they want to replenish that in some way.
All right. So now let's move in. The next 3 comments we have, I'm basically going to set them up here. They're all about trades because I don't want to say a lot of trades. I had how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. I had 6 trades in my first round, which some would say a lot. I know we got one comment. I can't remember off the top of my head who it was from, but they basically said that they could see like 10 plus trades happening in the first round. So our next 3, JD, have to deal with trades. First one has to deal with my Arizona trade, which I'll recap it really quick. I had the Cardinals getting a first round pick, a third round pick, a fourth round pick in this year's draft, plus next year's first and a 2025 second rounder from the Washington Commanders for the third overall pick. And the comment we had said, with Arizona, I don't think they should continue any trade that gets them out of the top 10 in the draft, because that is a roster that is devoid of talent, and I feel they need to remain in the range where they can land one of Anderson, Wilson, Gonzalez, Porter, or possibly Carter. And this comes from Tyler. And JD, I'm going to start with this one because to me, Arizona is an interesting team when it comes to trade down, because my whole thought process is, what is the direction of the Arizona Cardinals? Because they're a team to me that has pieces to where it's like, well, we're not going to be in a rebuild. We have Kyler Murray. But then on the other side, you look, well, you're going to trade DeAndre Hopkins, J.J. Watt retired. Is it time to enter the rebuild? You fired your head coach and Cliff Kingsbury. Is it time to basically say, let's wipe it clean and start from ground zero? Or both of you and I are baseball fans, so I can say this. Or do they do a White Sox thing and say, well, we're not rebuilding, we're retooling, and that's what we're going to do? So, like, to me, that's what I was thinking of. Like, yes, I know that a top 10 pick is of value, but like you said, JD, this might be a draft where you look at it and go, well, is this draft just a bunch of mid outside a couple players? And it basically comes down to how important Will Anderson is. How important Will Anderson is at 3, or would you rather, if you're the Cardinals, and this is what I was thinking, get draft capital this year, get draft capital next year, get even like a future in 2025, so that you can set your team up for the future, because you're not going to win anything right now.
I think you can't go wrong with either of the options, honestly. Like, I didn't really have a problem with this comment.
What would you do? Would you go retool, or would you go, we need to win right now because we have Kyler Murray? I'll put you on the spot.
I would say for this year, win now. I want to see what you actually have with a competent head coach, and see if they can get the most out of Kyler. So with this draft being a bunch of mid, like I said, besides a couple guys, I'm really high on Will Anderson. Even after a lot of like scouts or analysts, they questioned how much he likes football and all that.
The Anthony Edwards takes that I fell into during the draft. Like, exactly. He doesn't like basketball. He wants to be a rapper.
Exactly. I think when a guy like Will Anderson is on the board and you're the Cardinals, who, again, you don't really know where you are in the pecking order of teams in the NFL. So I think you just take the top, probably one of the top guys on the board in Will Anderson and see what you do. And if you stink this year, then that tells you probably need a rebuild. And he's a great player to have for your rebuild.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing too, that yet again, defending myself here because that's what I'm naturally going to do. The other thing too that you got to think of is it's like, okay, Will Anderson's the top edge. I'm not saying he's not, but can I sacrifice the top edge rusher to get somebody who is, because like I look later in the draft and this may change as people rise up boards, but like right now you have, and I'm looking from like 15 down, you have Lucas Van Ness, you've got Miles Murphy, you've got Nolan Smith, like you even have White later in the draft out of Georgia Tech, to where it's like, okay, Will Anderson's the top edge rusher, but do I sacrifice getting maybe a different edge rusher I like later on in order to get more draft capital too? Because the thing that I look at is Kyler Murray's contract he's now under contract until 2028. Yeah, 2029. So after the 2028 season, he'll be a free agent. I look at this team and I go, if you're trading DeAndre Hopkins, you lost JJ Watt, not JJ White. Like there's a lot of holes I think that this team is going to have to fill to where it's going to be, can they win now? Can they win now? I know that the division they're in is kind of depleted. Like it's the Niners, Seahawks are right there. Then the Cardinals, then the Rams, because the Rams are garbage now. They've got the best defensive player in football, but they're garbage now. So, I mean, to me, the Cardinals are interesting. If you don't want to trade back, I get it. It's just, to me personally, maybe it's because I'm not a Cardinal fan, JD, I don't know which way the team should lean. Whether, hey, we're going to compete now while losing guys, or, hey, we're going to go into more of a rebuild because basically we've lost a lot, and the plan that we went in with Kingsbury and Kyler Murray didn't work.
Yeah, I just think with their front office, they're just going to want to see how the team does, because if I remember correctly, the front office, the fan base, pretty much everybody put all the blame on Kingsbury. Mm-hmm. So I think they're going to give it a shot this year. Yeah, exactly. So I think they want to give it a shot with this team and see, okay, are we a playoff team or are we a Super Bowl team, which I don't think they are.
No, I don't either.
Or are we just bottom of the draft?
Mm-hmm. And yet again, Cardinal fans, like more Cardinal fans, let me know what you guys think down below. But another trade, JD, that I'm going to have to explain again. I thought I explained it well in my mock draft, but I don't know if it came across like I wanted it to. This comment coming from Kevin says, I don't understand why you think Washington moving up to get a quarterback. They're rolling with Sam Howell. I'm a fan, I know. First off, JD, I love I'm a fan. I know everything. Like,
yeah,
I'm a fan of the Bulls. I definitely don't know everything. But like, here was my thought process with the Washington trade. And obviously made the mock draft, recorded the mock draft before they signed Jacoby Brissett. So that's got to be the asterisk there. But even with Jacoby Brissett, who's a 30-year-old quarterback who's kind of been tossed around the league, he's like, hey, we need a starter. Oh, Indy takes him. Oh, he played in New England. Like, he's kind of been in numerous places to be that, like, hey, we need a starter for a couple games. I looked at it and I went, okay. I was looking at the roster for the Commanders, and they have a solid young defensive core. They have solid young players in their wide receiver and running back room. I looked at them and I just went, you know what? They remind me of a team. And that team that they reminded me of was that Philadelphia Eagle team right around, like, the Eagle team coming into the Carson Wentz draft. Young players on offense, young core on defense. Like, this is a team to me that I look at and I go, if they could trade up and get one of the top quarterbacks that they like to basically then grow with this team, because let's be honest, like, I know we clown on the Carson Wentz stuff because he got injured and then Nick Foles came in and won a Super Bowl with them. But like, the year that they won the Super Bowl, Carson Wentz was playing well. He was having an MVP caliber season before he injured his knee against the Rams. Like, I remember he was in the MVP talk, boom, then gets injured. And everyone's like, whoa, what is this going to do for the Eagles? So, like, that's why I did this trade. I was looking at it and I'm like, okay, you have young core, young defense, defensive head coach. You basically have a head coach light. Some people are going to be mad that I said light, but you have a head coach light in your offensive coordinator out now with Eric Bieniemy. I look at this and I went, now, of course, the pick, little homer by me. I'm a huge Will Levis guy. I would love I can't wait when he proves everyone wrong and I get to stand here and go, well, I was right. Bow down to me. But like, I look at it and I go, this team, no matter who it is, whether you think it's Stroud, whether you think it's, I almost said Bryce Harper, Bryce Young, whether you think it's Will Levis, whether you think it's AR, this team I looked at and was like, they should trade up. They should trade up, get that quarterback, because that is something that I think would catapult this team, is if they got a great young quarterback to lead this team going into the future with now what they have in their coaching room with Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah, no, I agree with that actually. Like that's the thing with, he said Sam Howell.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
UNC garbage.
Yeah, like,
I'm not a Washington fan. Washington fans are going to hate I say that. Sam Howell's probably not garbage, JD, but let's be honest, he's not your quarterback of the future.
I agree. Like, I think if you have the chance to trade up, and again, I'm not a Will Levis guy, but let's say he's the quarterback you go at if you trade up into the top 10 or just outside the top 10. I think Will Levis gives you a better chance to win now than Sam Howell. I think it's as plain as that. Mm-hmm. I agree with what you said. They have a good young team. I think they're just missing that quarterback and probably a couple other pieces.
Yeah.
But if they go if they go Will Levis or AR or any of those top four, I think that gives them a better chance of making a playoff run than Sam Howell, who he was coming off an injury, or did he get injured in his last year in college?
I don't know. I could look it up for you.
I don't think
he did. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think he got injured. But anyway, so he
played 12 games his junior year. 13, 12, 12. So he didn't get injured.
Okay, so disregard that. So he sat pretty much all year this year. I don't remember him starting.
The only games I remember him playing were preseason games.
Yeah. So he sat. So sure, he has a better understanding of the playbook than a rookie coming in. But just based off talent alone, I mean, it's kind of hard to not justify trading up when Howell wasn't a top quarterback prospect in last year's draft.
Yeah.
He was middle of the pack or just outside, I guess, of that top echelon of quarterback talent.
Mm-hmm. And like, that's a big one to me. I know there were a couple other comments that were like, hey, like, why is Washington moving up? They will probably not move up in my next mock draft. That was me saying, hey, I want to talk about this. I went to do a video on it before they did the signing of Eric Bieniemy, that I basically was like, you know what? This is my chance to kind of get this opinion out there. The next one, JD, I'm going to throw to you. I'm going to read it, let you go off on your tangent first. We got another trade comment, Texans trade. All caps. Awful trade with Texans and Colts. End of all caps. First off, Texans need a quarterback bad. Second off, you gave the Texans not even one additional first-round pick in the trade. Bears got 2 additional firsts for moving down. Third off, the Colts are a divisional rival. Texans aren't trading with them unless the haul is massive. And that was Bear Belly Sports. JD, I have my thoughts on this, but I'm going to let you go first. What were your thoughts on my Texans trade? And do you think that the Texans and Colts could get a deal done?
I think they could get a deal done, but to say that, I hate the argument of, how did the Bears get all these first-round picks and the Texans didn't get the same return? The Texans are moving back 2 spots in this trade. that's not a lot. The Bears.
Thank you. I'm going to cut you off. Thank you. That was one of my points. Panthers
Bears,
moved up from 9-1.
Yeah.
9-1. This is from 4-2. You're not going to get that much. I get the rivals thing, though. That might play into it. I might have, that's the thing. I was like, okay, I didn't think about that. But you're only moving up 2 spots. Sorry, you hit one of my points.
Yeah, and again, I have a buddy who's a Texans fan, and he kind of said he didn't love the trade, and he did kind of agree that, hey, if you're trading with a division rival, you probably want to get more. And I agree, you probably do. But in reality, like I said, you're moving back 2 spots. I agree that the Texans, now looking at what they've done this offseason, I mean, I think they know who they're drafting. So I think they're going QB, but that's not the point. I didn't really have a problem with it. Sure, you would have liked to get more of a return if you're a Texans fan, but I mean, I still don't think it's that bad of a return. If I was a Texans fan, I'd be okay with that move.
So you hit one of my points. Second point that I was going to make is probably could have had an additional first in there because of basically it is a divisional rival. One of the things you hit on, JD, you said the Texans know what they're going to do. And you said they're going to select a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you, but I don't think they're going to be selecting a quarterback at 2.
You actually believe they're going to be moving back now?
You know who I believe that they are going to take in the draft?
Who?
Hendon Hooker. I think the Texans are the team who's going to look at it and go, hey, number 2, I don't know if they trade back. They might look at it because here's the thing you got to think of. And this is why I bring this up. DeMeco Ryan is now the head coach of the Texans. He may sit there and go at 2, say, hey, you know what? The GM and everyone in the war room talking to each other, they could basically be doing their due diligence on Hooker because it's hey, if we like Hooker, we don't have to take a quarterback at 2. DeMeco Ryan might be sitting there hey, we got Dougie Davis-Mills. We can take Hooker. I'll get to that in a second because we had a second comment I wanted to just lightly elaborate on. But we can take Hooker later on. Give me Will Anderson. Give me Jalen Carter. I feel that might be, if they don't trade down, that might be what they do. Take one of the defensive guys at 2 and then try to get Hooker. Now, we had a separate comment that kind of mentioned, why would you trade up for Hooker? Because he's had an injury and stuff. The main reason why any team, and I say any team because there was a tweet from Ryan Fowler on the 11th of March that said Tennessee quarterback Hendon Hooker had a top 30 visit with the Houston Texans and will travel to the Giants, Titans, Buccaneers, and Colts in the coming weeks, per source. One of those teams, one of them, is going to have to A, trade up for Hendon Hooker. 2, you trade up for Hendon Hooker because usually you want to get that 5th-year option. Well, because he's coming off of an ACL injury, I want that 5th-year option even more, JD, because if this year's going to be a wasted year because of the ACL injury, which, let's be honest, ACL injuries in football are nothing now. Adrian Peterson kind of blew that out of the water when he got one. Ever since, ACL injuries aren't looked at the same. I'm looking at the Texans. They could probably go Will Anderson at 2, Jalen Carter at 2. Let's go ahead, trade up for Hooker. Yeah, I know it's only trading up 2 picks, but they get a quarterback that, hey, does he need to start? No, we got Dougie Davis-Mills for right now because the Texans are not a team that's going to win anything this year. They're not trying to compete this year, guys. They're trying to build a team. That's all you got to do is build a team.
So, wait, would you have the Texans picking Hooker in the middle of the first, or would you have them just trading back?
No, I think they're gonna trade up kind of like I did, where the trade that I had was They traded with the Eagles. They gave the Eagles the 34th overall pick, which was basically 2 picks back from where they would be. And then a 4th round pick. I gave the 105 pick. So basically, hey, I'll give you a 2nd and a 4th to move up 2 picks. Again, basing that a lot off of the Lamar Jackson trade. The only reason why they're not getting any future picks from the Texans is because the Baltimore Ravens had to move up from like the 50s to 32 or 31, where the Texans are only moving up 2 picks.
Okay, well, Ricky, if let's just say a team does trade in for and get that 5th-year option, do you know how old Hendon Hooker will be?
Oh, I know. He's older. He'll
be 30 years old going into his 2nd contract with that 5th-year option.
Yeah.
So I get it. Age. Well, quarterbacks can play at an older age. I know that's a thing. But my argument against that is, how much development are you going to get from a guy who's already 25? How much better do you think he's really going to be? Before getting injured, he had a great season. I can admit to that. I actually was starting to like him as a prospect and contender. And then the injury kind of changed that for me. But it's just at 25 years old, who wants to take that risk? Because personally, after going over his tape, again, I can admit he's talented, but usually you expect growth. I can see him maxing out as, at best, a bridge quarterback for a team, just because there's not that much room for development.
Yeah.
So I didn't mind that comment where, like, you know, the Hendon Hooker one, like, going at 30 or 32 or whatever it was. But I didn't mind. Yeah, I didn't mind that. But I get your argument, because you're right. Guys will want to take a risk, maybe going as a 2nd rounder. But I don't know, with a 1st rounder quarterback coming off an injury at 25 years old, I just can't wrap my head around that.
And also, the thing you got to look at here, and I just want to throw this out, doesn't have to be a huge discussion, is basically, out of the teams that, yes, the tweet was from the 11th, which it's been, 13 days as we're recording this on the 24th. Yeah. Everyone else is seeing this on Monday. Patrons are seeing it early, obviously, but like, the Giants, I don't know if they trade up. They gave Danny Dimes a huge contract, which I don't know why the F you do that. The Buccaneers signed Baker Mayfield, so would they trade up and take Hendon Hooker? The Colts, it'll depend. Do they get a guy with 4? Do they trade up to 2? Do they trade up to 3? The only competition then I would see the Texans having is the Titans. It'd be them and the Titans, basically. And the Titans, I could see that, like, oh, bridge quarterback, because, like, the Titans have a roster that isn't bad.
They also have Malik Willis.
They do have Malik Willis.
Again, but he's still a project, but I want to say Malik Willis is only 21 years old still. He might have just turned 22.
But the only thing I can think of, and yet again, we're not in these war rooms, what if the Titans believe that Hendon Hooker is better than Malik, to where it's like, hey, he's older, but hey, he's better. So he does, like, we don't have to waste years waiting for someone to get to where Hendon already is right now.
Well, that's a good argument, because the Titans could be looking at it as a win now mode, because they struggled. Like, what, they lost 8 straight games or 9 straight games this season. So after just being 1 seed, so they could look at Hendon Hooker as the ultimate win now move for them, because I believe Hendon Hooker is ahead of Malik Willis, but like in terms of his development and where they are at quarterback. But I think Malik Willis has the higher ceiling.
And the one thing I do want to throw out there is, obviously this was a joke from Brennan Benchwarmer, the guy who does all the shorts and stuff on like Instagram Reels and stuff. He made the joke of like, Texans, Colts, Titans, you guys all got to get better fast, because we just saw what Trevor Lawrence was able to do when the Jaguars gave him a competent head coach.
Yeah.
He gets a competent head coach who doesn't, go to bars and dance on young women, and look at that. Playoffs. Won a playoff game too. What
And,
a playoff
yeah.
game.
And
So-
who knows how the Texans won more games last year than anyone thought. So, I mean, they could be shocking some people this year.
They could. Also, I apologize for my voice. I am getting over a cold, and when I get excited now, I kind of sound like a pubescent child still.
You and me both.
Yeah.
I was sick earlier in the week.
You sound better than I do, though.
Well, I was sick like over the weekend and a little bit at the beginning of the week. I'm just getting over it.
You guys know me. I'm gonna get emotional when I get emotional, but like, I don't care how the voice sounds. I just know some people are gonna be like, "Whoa, Ricky, what's going on with your voice there?" But two more. The last one, JD's gonna bridge us into our second conversation. But so technically, last real comment we got, not real comment. You guys know what I mean. Comes from Tom D. Why would the Hawks not trade back from 20 and still get Torrance? There are plenty of other quality OGs in the draft, so Hawks might take tight end Darnell Washington in order to trade away tight end Fant due to his contract for a third rounder. JD, I'll be honest, Seahawk pick at number 20, I could have seen them doing numerous things. Literally, my notes for that pick could go defense, could trade back. Some are divided on Torrance. Might be BPA here. That's literally my notes. Could go defense, could trade back. What should the Seahawks do? I'll ask you. What should they do at 20? You also got to kind of predict what they do at 5 then.
Let's just assume your mock draft is the actual draft, and what happens.
To get Jalen Carter?
Yeah. Okay. Now, here's the thing. If you were in the Discord for more than this season, like if you were in here last year...
Join the link down below.
Yes. Or not even last year. If you're here in the beginning of this college football season, you would know. I was high on Osiris Torrance. Again,
Gator fan.
I'm a Gator fan, yeah.
Gator fan.
But stats don't lie. Osiris Torrance was I would say by far the best offensive guard, arguably best offensive lineman in this year out of like the draft eligible prospects. He's a freak. Yeah. So if you're getting him at 20, I think that's a massive steal. To say that there's other quality guards in this class, I agree there are. But Osiris Torrance is 10 times I'll say it, he's 10 times the prospect as what's his name? I'm butchering his first name, but Alvia, the TCU guard, I believe it is. Is it Alex Alvia?
I'm looking it up.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But in my mind, he's the second best guard in this class, and Torrance, I believe, is 10 times the prospect as him. So to get him at 20, I think is a steal. Because personally, I think Torrance is a top 15 prospect in this year's class.
Are you talking about Steve Avila?
Steve, that's it.
He's from. You said? Did you say USC?
I said TCU.
Okay, I thought I heard USC, and I'm looking. I'm like,
no.
I'm like, there's no lineman from USC.
No, TCU.
Yeah, Steve Avila.
Yeah, Steve. Sorry,
Good
I know
old
people.
Steve.
I know people get upset when we say the names wrong. Sorry.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, guys. We sometimes don't do it on purpose.
Yeah.
Marooks Morris, there was a bit behind that. But like, I mean, I feel like I'll say this, the other thing that plays into it too, I don't know what to expect. Like 15 through 32, anything can happen, because also, how many trades are we going to see? Like, there's a thought in my mind that, like, obviously people are going to fall in love with people. And, like, if you fall in love with someone, you might trade up for them. But in the back of my head, I fear that, like, we're going to get through night 1 of the draft, and then it's basically going to be, well, there were a lot of teams that wanted to move back, but they couldn't find trade partners to find a deal. Like, that's kind of what I'm thinking might happen. Is like, hey, we wanted to trade back, but guess what? Nobody wanted to make that deal.
Yeah, especially in this year's class, like we've been talking about.
How many
who's
picks
that
are you going to
guy?
give up for mid, especially later in
Yeah.
the first?
Like I would argue that for teams trading back, they're gonna
Mhm.
want more next year picks or the
Yeah.
year after instead of getting multiple picks this year.
Because, like, I'm even looking too, and it's like, what guys later in my mock that I would be like, yes, I would feel confident trading up for him. Like, I did. We'll talk about the Cowboys next, but the Bijan Robinson one I did only because it's like, well, if the Cowboys want him, the only way you're getting him is by trading up. Nolan Smith might be a guy. I had the Chiefs trade up only because the Chiefs are a team that want an edge rusher. They're a team that's like, we probably don't need our draft capital because we're going to Super Bowls. Let's trade up to 15 to get one of those edge rushers that's probably going to go there. The only one I can think of is maybe a Jackson Smith-Njigba. Only
Yeah.
because of, like, I know he's got the injury, but it's like, hey, if you're really like solid on him and then he's going to come off of that, fine. Like, if he wasn't injured, he would not be at the end of the first round. In my mind, he'd be
He's
up
also
there with the
only
Edisons and stuff.
he's also only a slot. Well, he's projected to only be a slot receiver, which could hurt his draft value. But again, he could be one of the best slot receivers in the league. So it's how you value the position.
Yeah. Last comment, and this will bring us into the second thing we want to talk about, is the Cowboys. Comment from Avant Garde says, why do I see some mocks, including this one, that would have Dallas add another running back in Bijan when in 2023 they have $20 million at that position alone for Pollard and Elliott? Now, I didn't see when the comment was posted, JD. I kind of want to give the benefit of the doubt. Was it posted before or after Zeke? I think did the Zeke news break before my mock went live?
No, it broke. It broke after.
Okay. So if the comment was before Zeke got released,
I'm pretty sure the
benefit of
comment
doubt.
was before.
But like, I look at it and it's like, okay, at the time of recording, didn't know if Pollard was going to get franchised or not. He did. Then they cut Zeke. So really, the same situation I thought they were going to be in, JD, they're in, just the opposite running backs. I thought Pollard was going to get a contract somewhere else. They were going to keep Zeke. Instead, they franchise Pollard. They send Zeke somewhere else and say, bye-bye, we don't need you. This is a pick that I feel like is the worst kept secret in all of the draft. I feel like it was thrown out there that, like, right after Bijan met with the Cowboys, that they love him, they want him. I feel like people know this, teams know this, and the only way that the Cowboys are getting Bijan is if they trade up for him. Because guess what? You need two backs to win in this league. You need at least two.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right. If you've seen, like, even the Eagles, they've had multiple running backs. Because too much wear and tear on a guy, running backs always get hurt. Now, I'm gonna give this guy the benefit of the doubt, and let's just assume both guys were on roster already.
Mm-hmm.
I think we knew that, like you said, Pollard was either gonna leave in free agency or he was gonna get tagged. Like you said, they need two running backs. Zeke, he isn't the player he was. So even if the Cowboys want to be loyal to him and keep him, which we now know that they didn't. You could argue that if it's Bijan, Bijan's the best running back prospect that we've seen since Saquon, and he in my opinion is the most sure thing prospect in this draft class.
Is it weird that he's the best running back prospect we've seen since Saquon, but he's not projected to go top 10?
I think it's because we learned from our mistakes. Because even as good as Saquon was, hindsight's 2020, but he shouldn't have gone in the top 5.
Injuries.
Yeah.
Mel Kiper was right.
Yeah. So I agree. Like, I think that Bijan is the Cowboys' target, but I could see a lot of I shouldn't say a lot. I could see teams like the Bills, even now after
Even
like
after getting Damian Harris?
yeah, because
Okay.
Damian Harris is good, but
Old.
you need two running backs, and yeah, they have James Cook, but
They actually
again,
have 3 running backs.
I know they lost Singletary.
Yeah, they lose. So they replace Harris for Singletary, but they have Damian Harris, James Cook, and they also have Hines. Unless you're
Yeah, but
just thinking of Hines as a
is
returner.
that's how I view him
Okay.
personally. But again, when you have someone like Bijan, I still think there's a world where they want to trade up for Bijan. I think that world is far away, but I could see it. And I think the Ravens could be another team that want him. So I think you're going to have these teams trying to jump the Cowboys, unless the Cowboys, I don't know, and they jump just outside the top 10 to make sure that they get him, which I'm not sure they want to move up that far. They get him, but I think he's their guy. But now my question is,
Go ahead.
let's say a team jumps in front of them, takes Bijan, whatever team you want that to be. For me, it would be the Bengals, but we'll talk about that a different day.
Let's put it this way. I'll map this out. Let's say the Cowboys don't make a trade. Bucks take him at what, 19?
That's
I
what I'm
think the
getting
Bucks
to.
take him if he's there.
I agree because I think if they haven't already, I think they cut Fournette or they just didn't bring him back.
Fournette's a free agent. He's gonna sign somewhere else.
So I could easily see them going with Bijan. But my question really is, let's say someone jumps in front of them, the Cowboys, and takes Bijan. Well, are the Cowboys still going running back, or is Bijan their only first round running back that they view it as? Because there's other good running backs in this class.
Yeah, but like, not first round value.
Just outside. I could, because like someone like I'm probably gonna butcher his last name, but Zach
Charbonnet. Yeah, he's not gonna go first round to me.
Yeah, like I see him going early second or early to mid second.
Ooh, I've got him slightly below you. I think late second, early third.
Okay.
And late second, early third.
Jahmyr Gibbs. Again, a lot of people are high on him. I'm middle of the pack. Jahmyr Gibbs.
You know who I would take a look at later on? And yet again, we get running backs that go like day 3 that end up being good running backs. In the games that I watched, because I'll be honest, bet on him a little bit to get some rushing yards this year, I did like what I saw from Zach Evans out of Ole Miss. He's not the same caliber as Bijan. He's not. I like Zach Charbonnet better, but I liked what I saw from Zach Evans. To where if you feel like, hey, we lose out on Bijan, I would go and look for maybe a Zach Evans on day 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, wherever he ends up going.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, because that's the one thing. As we've been preaching this whole show, this class is mid, but the one position it's not mid is running back. I could see any of these guys being starters on most teams.
Because I'm going to throw out some stats here. Zach Evans this year, about just under 70 yards away from 1,000-yard season, had 9 touchdowns on the ground, and also had 119 receiving yards on only 12 catches. That's something. Like, when you're averaging 9.9 in his entire career, he's averaged 9.5, 13, and then 9 yards per catch in his career. I look at that and I go, this is a guy that we could probably use. Like, Tony Pollard can be our hard-nosed runner. Zach Evans can be the change of pace guy, smaller guy, because I believe he's smaller than Pollard, but also the receiving option out of the backfield as well, because you need a running back who can catch the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. Like, someone who I like is, again, I don't think he's a first or second rounder, but I like Tyjae Spears, the running back from Tulane.
Okay.
I mean, he's small.
Yeah.
But like he ran a 4.47. From what I've seen, he has good vision. Like in my opinion, he knows how to read the blocks really well. If you're looking for pass pro, I don't really think he's your guy for that. But I think again, he's a quality running back. You can get him in the 3rd or 4th round. So maybe if you're the kind of circle back, maybe if you're the Cowboys and Bijan's on the board, you either trade back if you can find a partner to move up, depending on who's on the board. You trade back either late first, early second,
Now,
and then you value the running back position there.
I do want to throw this out here and see if this changes your mind. I thought the Cowboys signed somebody, and I was right. Does it change your mind at all that the Cowboys went ahead and gave a 1-year deal, just over $1 million, to Ronald Jones?
Not at all. I think
he's
Rojo's
third
pretty
on the depth
washed.
chart.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he's third on the depth chart.
Is Ronald Jones the insurance of like, hey, we're gonna go for Bijan, but if we don't get him, Ronald's our insurance?
I think exactly that, because I think, again, because I think no matter what, they will be taking a running back in this class. It's just a matter of when and who. So let's just assume it's not Bijan, it's somebody in the second round or third round. Well, then you can ease that rookie into a potential starting role, like to take over from Pollard, because I believe after this year, Pollard's gone, assuming how the rookie running back does. So if he struggles, then you what do you have to lose? You run Rojo for a little bit and just finish out the season with Pollard, who's pretty damn good, and Rojo is your number 2 and rookie is number 3.
So I'll ask you this last thing about the Cowboys before we finish up with the quarterback discussion we wanted to have. If they don't go running back in the first, what are they going with? Because first thing I would have thought of, they don't get Bijan, maybe they look for a Smith-Njigba. However, 5 days ago, what did they do, JD?
Got a receiver.
They traded for Brandon Cook. So if you're the Cowboys, if you don't get Bijan in the first, what are you targeting? It's like, okay, we didn't get Bijan. Here's plan B in the first round.
Well, I just think they're going to go BPA then.
Okay.
Honestly, it doesn't matter the position. Again, they're in that situation where they made the playoffs last year. I mean, they had a pretty good team last year. Just add to that with the best possible prospect you can. Obviously, they don't need a quarterback. They could go offensive line. They could it would probably be somewhere on the defense. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just going to be BPA.
Yeah, like I look and it depends on, like, there's a lot of cornerbacks that could fit a need. There's tight ends down there, but like
they could move up. Like, let's say Bijan's gone. They could be one of the teams to trade up to start that run of cornerbacks at the end of the first, or I guess mid first.
Because I feel like late in the first is where, like, I'll say 20 is where we'll start to see the run of cornerbacks.
Yeah.
Also, where will Brian Branch go? Because that's another one too. Of like, how far does he fall? He's good. He's just, the position just isn't like.
It's not a first round position because a lot of people view him as a nickel corner, and a lot of people I've still seen mocks of him going in the first. And if you view him as a nickel corner, I can't understand how you're putting him as a first round talent. Then
the only reason I had him in the first was I looked at the Bills and I was like, they're a playoff team. Depends on what they need, what happens in free agency. Running back, tackle are still needs, but it's like, I feel like if he goes in the first, it may be like 25 plus, 27 plus.
Well,
last 5 picks.
He's actually somebody I've been watching more of in my more film I've been watching.
You're like, how can I criticize this? I need to know. I can't just blindly criticize.
No, I'm actually the opposite, because I'm trying to figure out, like, I'm really trying to.
What's the appeal here, JD?
Yeah. Well, because if he can be an in-the-box safety and still play the safety position, then I think there's a value for him in the first round.
Good point.
Because he has the speed. He's a good tackler, but if you're having him as a nickel corner, I can't. He could be a good nickel corner. I'm not denying that. But if I'm a GM, and I mean, maybe this is why I'm not, but I'm not taking any nickel corner in the first.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't either, because like I could sign a veteran to play the nickel corner. Like, That's not something I'm going to waste a first round pick on in the draft. But JD, I know that you said coming in, hey, can we keep this to an hour? I'm going to promise that to you. This will not be a long discussion here to end the podcast, but there are two teams I wanted to mention because of quarterback free agencies that have happened. The first one is basically like Jimmy Garoppolo. I'll be completely honest. Vegas everywhere is just Jimmy Garoppolo billboards. Like, it is like Jimmy G town, basically. The fans, maybe not so much. Maybe it's a little like, oh, we'll wait and see kind of a thing. But the Raiders get Jimmy G. The Colts also signed Gardner Minshew. My two questions to you. I know we had a couple more like the Falcons, but I didn't think they were going to go for a quarterback. Washington, I was only the one pushing that. They get Jacoby Brissett. Baker Mayfield to the Bucks, but I didn't think the Bucks were going to trade up for a quarterback. Really, the ones are the Raiders and the Colts. Minshew to the Colts, Jimmy G to the Raiders. Do either of these signings kind of shake up where quarterbacks are going to go in the draft? Does Jimmy G being in LV make it to where the Raiders don't take a quarterback, take something else, or even trade back?
See, I think this is honestly a really tough question, kind of like what we were talking about off camera before we started the show. Personally, again, I'm not very high on Jimmy G. I think he's a good quarterback, good game manager, but is he that guy that's going to win you a Super Bowl?
Is he healthy?
Yeah, exactly. Is he healthy as well? So I'm not really sure. Like, if I were the Raiders, and again, I'm not a Will Levis guy, but if AR is gone and Will Levis is sitting there, I think I pull the trigger on Will Levis because, like you've mentioned and you've preached, Levis needs time to develop. So if you have him sit behind Jimmy G, who is a good mentor from all accounts, then I think that's a good situation for Levis. It lets the fans be happy.
That would have to piss Jim. Do you think, though, that Jimmy G signed that contract with a stipulation you cannot draft a quarterback in the first round? Because it happened to him in San Fran. Like,
I mean, I'm sure the front office of the Raiders sweetened him up a little bit, but the NFL is a business, you know. Like, it might be just, again, only time will tell, but it just might be that part of Jimmy G's career where he's just a bridge quarterback, and he's gonna be there to groom the rookie quarterback to get him ready for his time, and yeah, that might be all it is. Or Jimmy G rolls back the clock a little bit, shows why he got that money, and balls out for the Raiders and takes them on a little bit of a run.
I will say, when I was doing my mock, I was reading a lot that the Raiders might be high on AR. I don't know how much truth there is to that, though. I know that and yet again, is everything a smokescreen now? But I do remember reading this article I just pulled up where McDaniels, head coach of the Raiders, said when asked about drafting a quarterback, he said, "We're not going to let anyone else determine how we feel about those players. We're going to evaluate the quarterbacks, period. Whenever it's the right time to pick the right player, that's the whole key. It's not, we need a quarterback, so we have to take the fifth best guy that we don't like if that were to happen. We're not going to do that. If there are one or two guys at that position who we feel could really help our football team, we'll figure out the scenario that would give us an opportunity to add them. If we can, great. If we can't, we can't." That's life in the National Football League. You can't always have just what you want. You have to have multiple plans and avenues to go in. So, like, that was also before they signed Jimmy G. So, like, we'll see. But, like, I look at it and I go with this Raider team. If you like AR or Levis and he's there, take him. Either one. Either or. If you are sold on AR, take AR. I wouldn't care what Jimmy G thinks.
Exactly.
Jimmy G should know it's a business. hey, I have to outperform you. I got to beat you for the job. Maybe Jimmy G should have some Zach Wilson energy. I'm going to make Aaron Rodgers' life hell when he gets here.
Yeah. And again, best case for Jimmy G, if assuming the Raiders go quarterback, okay, Jimmy G, that motivates him a little bit. Not that he probably needs any more motivation, but motivates him. He has an amazing season. Guess what? I want to trade. Trade me to somewhere where I can be a starter. Okay, then there you go. Because then if he has a great
or the opposite route, he has a phenomenal season. AR improves. Hey, who wants AR because he's younger and we can get more for him?
I'm going to use someone else as an example because it'll come across as biased, but let's just assume it's Will Levis and that same situation happened.
You're like, I can't do it with the Florida guy.
Just so people know I'm not being biased when I say this. No matter who that quarterback is, I don't like that if I'm the Raiders. You go with the younger guy who extends your window. That's just how I view it. Or you go with
the guy who works with your head coach if the Raiders make the playoffs this year and compete in the playoffs, I'm running with Jimmy G then. I'm not going with the young kid. Like, if Jimmy G meshes, stays healthy, and they fight for a chance to go to the Super Bowl, I'm sticking with Jimmy G.
If he takes them on an actual run, sure. But if he gets them to the playoffs,
that's what I thought we were talking about by has a really good season.
Oh, okay. No, I was talking about statistically.
I was just talking about winning and getting to the playoffs and like competing.
Yeah, well, of course, if he takes them to the Super Bowl, then
even if he doesn't, let's say he Joe Burrows it. Sorry.
No, but he won a playoff game.
I know.
So that's what I'm saying. But like, if he gets them to the playoffs, crashes and burns, no playoff win, then okay. See you later, bud. Come back next time. I don't know.
God, could you imagine a Raiders Niners Super Bowl this year?
I would hate that. I don't hate. I don't mind the Niners, but if you know me, I'm not a big Raiders guy.
Just Jimmy G against his former team in the Super Bowl. The only thing that would make that even more perfect is if the Raiders had to beat the Patriots in the playoffs to get to the Super Bowl. But I don't know how good the Patriots are going to be because Bill Belichick.
Ooh, they might be on the lookout for a new quarterback. So
they might be on the downcline, is what I've been saying.
Yeah.
But last thing I'll say, Colts. Do you think the Gardner Minshew thing does anything for them trading up for a quarterback, or does it? Nope, doesn't change anything at all.
No, I think that they'll sit at 4. I don't think they're moving up. I think they'll be okay with whoever is sitting there.
Does anyone jump them? Do we get maybe Stroud at 1? Someone else jumps the Colts either at 2 or 3.
Man, I want to say no.
I do too.
I feel like there's going to be no more trades within that top 5, but I'm going to say no. I don't think it changes anything. I think it just allows them to have that again, kind of like the Jimmy G topic. It lets them have that starter who's an NFL vet. He can start the year because assuming they don't get Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, then either Levis or AR are going to need time to sit and just develop as a rookie quarterback that way.
God, now I'm trying to. Also, JD, I said before, and we had a comment that like about taking God's name in vain. I got figured out what that commenter was talking about.
What?
I just said it numerous times. I have a habit of going, oh, God.
Oh,
God. Like that. It just hit me of like, oh, is that what they were talking about? Because like, full disclosure here. I read that comment in my mock draft. I was talking to JD about like, well, you know, like lately with the content, like if I say like the S word or the F word, it's like I try to bleep it now because of like how want to go more of that like friendly of like, if you're listening to this at work, you can do like, you know what I said, but you can still listen to it at work and not have to feel like, oh, I shouldn't have played this at my desk. And I just said it a couple times. I'm like, oh, that's probably what they were talking about. Cause like I was telling you, the one thing that I do, it infuriates my girlfriend, is I say GD all the time and she can't stand it. Yeah, I say GD all the time. And I'm like, I don't think I said that in the video, but then it just hit me right now where I'm like, oh, realization. That's probably what they were talking about. But yeah, I just looking at it, if because of the Jimmy G signing, I just don't see a team trading up for a quarterback that's not the Colts. Unless Washington listens to me and actually does it.
Yeah, like I agree, but again, I don't even see Washington moving in the top 5.
Or unless the Packers pull a curveball and go. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers has a no trade clause, like this scraps this, but like, how dirty would the Packers be if they just called up Houston or even Arizona and were like, hey, we'll give you Aaron Rodgers for the second and some picks. What are you thinking? If you're Houston and the Packers called you and said, we want the second overall and a couple more picks for Aaron Rodgers, would you do that?
I know I'm going to get heat for this, but no, I wouldn't. Again, I'm somebody.
You don't want the ayahuasca on your team?
No, I'm just somebody who loves the appeal of younger players and what they can potentially be. So if I'm Houston, who again is in the middle of a rebuild, I don't want a mid 30-year-old quarterback. I want that young guy who opens my window for years upon years.
Man, I will say last thing, this is what I'll end the podcast on for today, is it was put in the Discord, link to join down below. It's a great time in the NFL chat. I didn't even know the Vikings were rumored to be looking at a quarterback. But when I saw you put the thing about them trading up to the Raiders pick to take Will Levis, I was just like, oh, please. Please, God, that would be my dream, because love Will Levis, can't stand Kirk Cousins, great guy, not a great quarterback. To where like that would be my dream. I'd get rid of Kirk Cousins. I would get Will Levis. I would be able to tell y'all that I was right, and then I'd be able to cheer for him and have a Will Levis Vikings. Could you imagine me saying I was right wearing a Will Levis Vikings jersey?
Yeah. And
let's be honest, I'm probably going to wear whatever Will Levis jersey he's in when I do say I was right.
Yeah.
I just hope it's not like a Bears jersey or a Lions jersey or a Packers jersey. Like if it was a Packers jersey, I'd feel dirty.
I wouldn't do that.
I'd feel dirty. Well, I gotta say I was right in his jersey.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right about that. But I guess for me, if I had to say anything to end this, kind of just piggybacking off what you just mentioned, I'm gonna plug our potential draft stream.
Yep. Well,
and
I will be here.
I'll be here. Okay, so
I will be here,
and I'll have a webcam by then. So But if you want to see Ricky freak out when the Vikings trade up for Will Levis,
go back to our NBA draft when Io was drafted. It's gonna be like that times like 5. No.
My jaw will be on the floor.
Yeah, but like it wouldn't be that. I was so pumped for Io because I love people who don't know this. Like, if you talk to me about Io DeSumo, you would think he is my own son. That's the kind of like excitement I talked like about Io DeSumo and how I want him to do good. Like, you would think that I'm related to him in some way. And that like that's the only reason why.
Yeah,
is that weird, JD? Is that weird that I like want him to do that well? That it's like, wow, like
no,
it's almost like a dad wanting his son to be good.
No, we all like those guys. Like Damian Pierce was my guy this year.
But the thing is that the age almost matches up.
Okay, yeah. For me, some of
I'm
these guys are
older.
older than me, or they're my age.
Like,
But no,
yeah,
but
it's
is that
only
more
10
weird?
years, but yeah.
Nah, but is it more weird because like, let's say you're doing that to
And the
like what
guy's the
you're
same age as you.
yeah, you're like someone in their mid-30s, and it's like
Well,
okay,
then it would be
that's
like my brother.
I guess yeah, I guess you could look at it like that.
Like,
I always just get so weirded out because now like I'm at the age where guys are just coming into the draft that are either my age, a little younger, and I'm like, man, I'm freaking
I
like I'm
remember
talking,
that.
yeah, like I'm talking with
I
this
remember that.
kid. Like I can actually call these people kids now because I'm
Yeah.
older than them.
Yeah,
Like,
I
dang.
remember. I remember when that was the thing. But I used to always make the joke, and I know that this is not true, but I'm gonna make the joke anyways. Is when Io was going to get drafted, I used to always make the joke that there is only one other person in this world that is a bigger Io DeSumo fan than me. JD, do you know who that is?
Parents?
His mom.
Oh,
It's the only person that's a bigger
yeah.
Io DeSumo fan
Hey,
than
man.
me is his own mother.
Again, go back to watch that live
Yeah.
stream when he got drafted because
Mhm.
I believe it
freaked.
off your reaction.
Oh, and then when Jake
The
telling me he
scream.
got traded and my
Yeah,
like,
and then you
oh,
turn white.
I did. I literally turned like I got sick, JD,
Yeah.
to my stomach. Like
Oh
it was
man,
the
that would have
highest of
been
highs and the lowest of
it looked
lows all in
all
one
within
like 10-second
within a minute.
span.
Yeah. Oh man, that was
Oh,
great.
what a roller coaster. But that's going to do it for the podcast today. I'll do the housekeeping here at the end. Remember, these are bi-weekly episodes. Patrons get them every Friday. Check out our Patreon page in order to be a plus member. I think we call them plus members. Basically the $10 tier. You get the podcast on Friday instead of on Monday. It's free then for everyone on Monday. Join our Discord if you're not in it already. Great conversations happening each and every day. Go check out my mock draft. Gonna have the click to that at the end of this in the card. So go ahead and click that to watch my mock draft. Leave a comment with anything you want us to know, any questions you have, anything you would like us to talk about as we get, I think we're a month away, right? We're a month away from the draft.
What's a little over. I think the draft starts on the 27th.
Yeah, and we're the 24th. Like this is the
Yeah.
final week of March. So
Yeah.
we're getting there, JD. One more month and then we're getting there. Remember to
Can't
hit
wait.
that. What'd you say?
Can't wait.
Can't
Best
wait.
time of year.
Okay, Bart Scott. Remember to hit that like button if you like the video. Hit that sub button so you never miss anything coming from MVP Sports. For JD and myself, we will be back in 2 weeks to talk more draft with you guys. Have a good day, everybody.
See ya.
Thanks again for watching. Also wanted to give a special thanks to our Patreons over at our Patreon page who their names are displayed on the screen for you guys. Our basic membership patrons get their names displayed at the end of every video, and our premium members get our content like this mock draft 4 days earlier before everyone else. So if you'd want to go and support the channel, go ahead and click the Patreon icon right there on the screen. And also, if you're looking for more NFL draft content from MVP, go ahead and click the video in the top left corner to hear what JD and myself had to say about the Bears trading the number 1 pick over to the Carolina Panthers. Again, thank you to our patrons for all the support, and thanks everyone for watching today's video.